Yes, my people, it is your boy VRD, and we are back for another commentated drive. In today's video, we're going to be taking a Class 377 Electro Star from London Victoria down to Selhurst, calling at all stations. So this is a return journey of a previous video that I recorded from Selhurst Depot up to London Victoria. On today's journey, we're not going to be going into Selhurst Depot. The journey will be ending at Selhurst. We'll be calling at Battersea Park, Clapham Junction, Wandsworth Common, Balham, Streatham Common, Norbury, Thornton Heath and Selhurst. This is my first commentated drive in wet conditions. I've set the weather to 80% rain because that is the current weather in real life. So I thought, yeah, why not? Might as well switch it up a bit. I'd like to apologise in advance if my commentary sounds half dead. I've said that so much times before, but yeah, I'm currently running on about 2.5 hours of sleep, so this is gonna be a killer, let's just say that. But I'm driven, determined and dedicated. The content has to be made. So here's our beautiful Class 377 Electro Star. It's an 8 carriage. We have 377140 at the back. I'm not sure what's at the front. We're going to start by entering the rear cab. Just configuring these doors here. If you haven't seen my Class 377, not even Class 377, if you haven't seen my Ultimate Electro Star guide, I definitely suggest that you go and watch that now, because I cover quite a lot of information regarding the Electro Star units in that video, which will help you out. So I've entered the rear cab, configured those doors like I said, and I've come and set the DRA. This isn't completely necessary, but I just prefer doing it. I'm also just ensuring that the tail light switch is in the auto or on position, which it is. And I'm also ensuring that the PBC is in the full service position, the FNR switch is in the off position, and that no master key is inserted. That seems fine to me. Now I'm going to exit the rear cab, close the door back, and before heading to the front of the train, I'm just going to check that what on earth was that? Anyway, I'm just going to check that 2 red tail lights are being displayed, which they are. Am I recording? Okay, yeah, I'm recording. Right, we're now going to make our way towards the front of the train. So there's a glitch with the Class 377 Electro Stars in the London Commuter DLC. The best way I can describe it is, if you come across an Electro Star, a Class 377 Electro Star that has spawned in a stationary state, if you go and take command of the service straight away, when the service commences, the back gangway will open and it will be locked open. You won't be able to close it, which I find quite frustrating. It's not game breaking because when you're driving from the front of the train, it's not like you're going to be able to see the back gangway, but because I ended up discovering the glitch and I know that it happens, it kind of annoys me. So I'm going to show you guys how to avoid that glitch. There's not really a fix for the glitch, but there is a way to avoid it. I'm just entering this middle section here just to configure everything correctly, because again, when you come across a Class 377 that has spawned in a stationary state, sometimes the gangways and lights haven't been configured correctly. So I'm just coming into this middle cab here, setting the DRA, switching off the tail lights and opening up the gangway. We're now going to head over to the cab on the other side and do the same thing. So just setting the DRA and switching off the tail lights there. Setting the DRA, again, it isn't necessary, but because in real life the DRA would always be set just before shutting down the cab, I just like doing it. Just gonna glance at these lights, ensure that they are not on, which they aren't, so we can continue making our way towards the front of this 8 carriage train. And we are due out of London Victoria in 15 minutes, so we got plenty of time. Plenty of time. That networker is making so much noise. The developers really messed up the sounds for the Class 465 networker. It is a beautiful train to drive. In fact, that being said, even the physics are a bit dodgy on that, but the sounds are just so distorted. You can hear it from miles away. I don't know why it's like that. So anyway, we're at the front of the train here, just glancing at the tail lights again, ensuring that we have our two red tail lights being displayed, which is correct. We're now going to enter the front cab, configure all these doors just like this. We're now going to come over to our safety system isolation switches and turn the three switches into the normal position, so those being the AWS, DSD and vigilance isolation switches. You want to turn those into the normal position. In reality, those would already be in the normal position, but in train sim mode that is not the case. Now, like I said, because of the glitch regarding the gangway at the back of the train, we're actually not going to sit in the seat just yet, because if we sit in the seat, that means we've taken command of the service and we're trying to prevent the glitch from happening. What you actually need to do is wait for the AI to take command of the service and then you go and sit in the seat, and that prevents the back gangway from opening and being locked open. Don't ask me how I know this. I play this game a lot. So we've so I've set the DRA there. I'm going to insert the master key, move the FNR switch into the neutral position, and acknowledge the AWS self-test sequence by pressing the AWS acknowledgement button there. Now going to select the day running configuration on the headlight switch there. And the tail light switch is in the auto position at the moment, which is fine. Now would be a good time to open the doors as well. Just pressing the all release button on the left there. I'm now going to set the destination. So this train is going to Epsom Downs, I believe. So we're just going to scroll upwards until we come across that destination. There it is, Epsom Downs. Confirm location and exit. I'm now going to go outside and take a glance at the front of the train just to ensure that everything is being displayed correctly. So we have our day running configuration of the headlights. The brighter headlight shines from the non-driver's side and the not so bright LED light shines from the driver's side. And our destination display shows Epsom Downs, which is perfect. Returning to the cab again, remembering not to sit in the seat because of the glitch. Remember, this glitch only happens when you've come across a class 377 that has spawned in a stationary state. So if you're taking command of a 377 that was previously moving, you don't need to worry about all of this. You can come and sit in the seat straight away. To be honest, you don't need to worry about it. You're not going to notice the gangway being open at the back, but just in case someone else has come across this glitch and was wondering how to fix it, this is the way to fix it. Or avoid it, I should say. Anyway, enough waffling. We're just going to wait here until our scheduled departure time of 0600, or about 2 minutes before that. See you guys in a bit. Okay, I've just been here scrolling on Instagram, but it's about 5 seconds before the AI takes command of the service, so I'm just gonna get ready to quickly, there we go, quickly sit in the seat there. As soon as the AI takes command of this service, the doors automatically close when that happens, so you're gonna have to reopen them as quickly as possible. And the AI was nice enough to turn on the windscreen wipers for us. I'm going to turn that into the intermittent position as opposed to the slow position, just so I don't have to put up with that ridiculous sound. Okay, so we're down to 30 seconds before our scheduled departure time. I'm taking a glance at the signal, it's showing a green aspect. Now going to look back along the platform. You can see no one is boarding the train, so I'm going to whack the door close button. Door interlock lights have illuminated. Just a final glance back along the train there. Everything seems fine. We're going to sit in our driver's seat. Final glance of the signal, it is still green with the letter E and the little theatre box display there. That tells us that we've been routed onto line E, which is the down, Brighton, slow, which is the line that we require. Resetting the DRA, moving the FNR switch into the forward position, moving the PBC into the off position momentarily, just observing a brake cylinder gauge reading of 1 there. That's due to the fact that I'm holding down the hill start button at the moment. And moving the PBC into the power notch 1 position, then releasing the hill start button after about a second, and the train should begin to move off as the brake cylinder gauge reading falls to 0 bar. And just glancing at the CCTV monitors up here as we move away, just to ensure that no one's being dragged along with us. Speed limit departing London Victoria is 20 miles an hour. So it's going to be very interesting trying to keep to time here because of the wet conditions. I'm going to be driving a lot more cautiously than I normally would be. I'm going to be avoiding brake step 2 at all costs. If I am using brake step 2, it's only going to be for probably no more than 5 seconds. Oh goodness. Right, I wasn't expecting the rain to... I hope that doesn't ruin the video. But yeah, I've moved the PBC into the off position because we've reached 20 miles an hour. That is really annoying. I really hope that isn't drowning out the sound of my voice. I'm going to try and speak directly into the microphone in a defined manner because I don't want my commentary to get ruined. So you may have noticed that we just passed a 40 board, so once the back of our train is clear of that board, we can accelerate towards that speed. So I'm now applying power notch 1 from now because we're on a bit of a, well, not a bit of a very severe upward gradient as we climb over the River Thames. Just increasing the power to notch 2. The back of our train should be clear of that 40 board by now, so we're okay to accelerate above 20 miles an hour. And we just passed a smaller board with the number 45 on it, telling us that the speed limit is now increasing to 45 miles an hour. We're now up to 30 miles an hour, so I'm going to shut off the power momentarily, make an immediate brake step 2 application, and observe the speed fall by 10 miles an hour. Once that's done, I release the brakes and continue to accelerate. Just selecting power notch 2 for now, because Battersea Park Station isn't too far away from our current location. So up to about 32 miles an hour here, I'm gonna shut off the power now. And I'm aiming to use only brake step 1 to come to a stop due to the wet conditions. So I'm gonna make my brake application about now. So aiming for about between 25 and 30 miles an hour entering the platform there. And our stopping position is at the end of the platform. Just momentarily selecting brake step 2 there. We are coming in a bit too fast. Reducing it back to brake step 1, back up to brake step 2 again momentarily, and back down to brake step 1 for the stop. There we go. Now that we're at a stand, PBC into brake step 3, FNR switch into neutral, and pressing the all release button on the left. Although I do believe, hold on a minute, it might be in the other direction. I think Battersea Park has a short platform, so I probably shouldn't have pressed the all release button. Oh no, it's okay. So it's on the other side. In the previous video, I pressed the all release button after stopping at this stop marker here, and only 7 of the 8 carriages were actually on the platform. So the back carriage opened its doors even though it wasn't on the platform. It's a bit hilarious. Right, so trying not to waste too much time here, just glancing at the signal, we have a green aspect, pressing the door close button. Door interlock lights have illuminated, glancing at the monitors there, and the signal of final time. F and R switching to forward, holding down the hill start button, power notch 1, releasing the hill start button. And due to the wet conditions, I'm going to gradually step up in the I'm going to make gradual increments in the power as opposed to just whacking it into full power. So in power notch 2 at the moment, I'm going to increase it to power notch 3 now. And I'm going to remain in power notch 3 until we reach about 37 miles an hour, where I will shut off the power. That is due to the fact that we are on a downward gradient. So by the time we reach the bottom of the downward gradient, our speed would have rolled up to 45 miles an hour. So we're up to 37 miles an hour now. I've moved the PBC into the off position and we should continue to accelerate up to 45. Next station is Clapham Junction. So yeah, you can see we've reached the bottom of the downward gradient here and we're just below 45 miles an hour. I'm now acknowledging an AWS indication regarding an advanced warning for a speed reduction down to 20 miles an hour. You may have also noticed that the speed limit has now increased to 60 miles an hour, but there is no point accelerating to that. As I just said, speed limit will be reduced into 20 miles an hour very shortly, just before Clapham Junction station. Going to make a brake step 1 application around now. So down to 30 miles an hour. I may have applied the brakes a bit too early, but it's not the end of the world. Down to 20 miles an hour, releasing the brakes. Actually, that wasn't too early, that was actually pretty good timing. And here we are, Clapham Junction station. So just coasting along the platform, about midway along the platform here. Gonna make another brake step 1 application. That should stop us in about the right place, although it's looking like I'm going to need brake step 2 maybe. Yeah, just momentarily there. Back down to brake step 1, up to brake step 2 momentarily again, and we come to a stop. Full service, neutral, doors are on the left. So quite a few stations on this particular trip don't have stop markers, but I know where the correct stopping positions are, so yeah. It's quite frustrating, but I'm guessing it's because the developers were quite restricted with the amount of assets they could implement into the route because of memory issues. I remember when this route came out, it was severely delayed. It was meant to come out in the summer of 2021, but it ended up coming out in October, I think, end of September, October. So yeah, I'm sure they had quite a few memory issues with it. Even on the PS4 version, it used to crash all the time. It was very poorly optimized. Anyway, green signal, glancing at the monitors there, whacking the door close button. Door interlock lights have illuminated. Final glance at the monitors and the signal. F&R switch into forward. And taking power notch 1 immediately. We're on level terrain, so use of the hill start button isn't necessary. However, I do still like to wait for the brake cylinder gauge reading to be between 0 and 1 bar before taking power. Because it reduces so quickly when you release the brakes, you can more or less move the PBC straight from full service into power notch 1 without having to worry about it too much, but still just be observant of that. And yeah, just using power notch 1 to bring us up to 20 miles an hour. I suppose I could have used power notch 2 as well, but because I'm commentating, I'm doing everything at a bit of a slower pace here. And shutting off as we reach 20 miles an hour. If you were paying attention, you would have noticed there was a small board at ground level with the number 60 on it. So when the back of our train has cleared that board, we can accelerate up to 60 miles an hour. Next station is Wandsworth Common. So the back of our train should now be clear of that board. I'm going to make a step 3 power application momentarily. Once we reach about 30 miles an hour, I'll increase the power up to full power, or power notch 4. So just doing that now. And again, that's just down to the wet conditions. You don't want to be applying too much power at lower speeds because you're prone to wheel slip. Yeah, wheel slip. Wheel slip is when you're accelerating. Wheel slide is when you're decelerating. But not a lot of people know that. A lot of people think it's the same thing, but no, there's a difference. So the breaking point for Wandsworth Common, which is our next station, is quite hard to judge. What I normally do is look out for a warning board for low adhesion. So it's a yellow triangle with a leaf in it. We just passed it there now. Very hard to make out. At that point, you can get a brake step 1 application in, providing you're traveling at around 60 miles an hour, and that should bring you down for Wandsworth Common Station in good time. Yeah, down to 40 miles an hour, 35. Might need a short burst of brake step 2 there. Yeah, definitely about 32 miles an hour on the entry into the station. So I'm gonna use a short burst of brake step 2 there. Back down to brake step 1 and just aiming to come to a stand at the end of the platform here at Wandsworth Common. Momentarily releasing the brakes and back up to brake step 1 as we come to a stand. Full service, neutral, doors on the left. Let me just check how long I've got left on the recording. Okay, loads of time. I can actually get this into one video. Normally I have to chop my videos into 2 parts because Share Factory, which is the software that I'm using to edit these videos, it only permits me to do 60-second videos, 60-minute videos at a time. And a lot of the time my videos are over 60 minutes, so I have to chop them into 2 parts. But this can just be all in one video, which is convenient. Anyway, we're about a minute late here, but it is what it is. Green signal, glancing at the monitors, whacking the door close button. Door interlock lights illuminated. Glance at the monitors again and the signal final time. F&R enter forward. I'm going to use the hill start button as we move off here. Up to power notch 2. The moment the brake cylinder gauge reading falls to 0 bar. Glancing at the monitors a final time as we move off. That's something that I tend to keep forgetting to do. When I'm not commentating, I always remember to do it, but when I'm commentating, I forget to do it. Anyway, up to power notch 3. and up to power notch 4 as we reach about 30 miles an hour. Next station is Balham, which isn't too far from here. I'm gonna shut off the power about now, make an immediate brake step 1 application, aiming for about a 30 mile an hour entry speed into Balham station. It is on an upward gradient in this direction, so you don't need to be too stressed about the speed coming into the station. In fact, if you're doing 30 miles an hour on entry into the station, you shouldn't need brake step 2 if you're on an 8 carriage train. Now, although we've just flown past the 8 carriage stopping position, if you were to actually stop there, the back of your train would be hanging off the platform. The developers have put that in the wrong place. So what we're going to do is stop here at the 9 to 12 carriage stopping position instead. Just there. Overshot it very slightly, but it doesn't matter. Full service into neutral, and this time, because our doors are to be opened on the right hand side, we're gonna get up, cross the cab, and use these buttons over here instead. I'm just gonna glance at the signal from now as well. The 5 white lights pointing diagonally upwards to the left, if those were illuminated, we would be routed towards Streatham Hill, but because those aren't illuminated, we know that we've been given routing towards Streatham Common. That is known as a position 1 junction indicator. So we've already glanced at the signal, glancing at the monitors, pressing the door close button. Door interlock lights have illuminated. Glancing at the monitors again. Signal F&R into forward, using the hill start button because we're on an upward gradient here. And we're away. Glancing at the monitors at final time as we pull off there. Power notch 3. And I'm going to remain in power notch 3 because the speed limit is currently, what is the speed limit at the moment? So it reduced to 50 miles an hour just before entering Balham station. I forgot to call it out, and it's just gone down to 40 miles an hour now as we go around this curve here. And although the board that we've just passed just then said 45, that board is incorrect. It actually goes up to 60 miles an hour there. So just gradually reducing the power a bit just to decrease the rate of deceleration just until we get clear of that board. We should now be clear, so I'm going to accelerate up to 60 miles an hour. Next station is Streatham Common. We're up to 60 miles an hour, so I'm going to shut off the power there. And the braking point that I use for Streatham Common Station in this direction is between the AWS magnet associated with the next signal and the next signal itself. So here's the AWS magnet coming up now. You can see the signal there, so I'm going to apply the brakes about now. And that should stop you almost in the perfect location. It's very hard to achieve a one-hit wonder, but using that point along the line as a braking point is the best way you're going to achieve that. But more times than not, you're still going to need to momentarily release the brakes or apply a brake step 2 just to achieve your accurate stop. So yeah, you can see we're traveling a bit slower than required there, so I've just momentarily released the brakes. And 30 miles an hour entry into the station. Back into brake step 1. And we're looking out for our 8 carriage stopping position coming up here. Into brake step 2 momentarily. Brake step 3 even. Woo! Okay. And back down to brake step 1 for the stop. Full service, neutral, doors on the left. So yeah, that's a good example of when would be a good time to use brake step 3. You can see we were about to fly off the end of the platform there, so I had to momentarily apply brake step 3 to increase the rate of deceleration. Green signal, glance of the monitors, door close button. Glancing at the monitors again, glancing at the signal again, F and R switching to forward. Power notch 1 with use of the whole start button, and we're away. Up to power notch 2. Speed limit is currently 45 miles an hour. It went down to 45 miles an hour just before entering Streatham Common Station, but it goes back up to 60 miles an hour not long after exiting Streatham Common Station. Departing from Streatham Common Station, I should say. There's the 60 board there that we just passed. And up to full power. Although Norbury Station, which is the next station, isn't too far away from here, but I do struggle to get the exact braking point for Norbury Station. There's not a lot of landmarks that you can use as reference. So up to 50 miles an hour, I'm going to shut off the power around now. And I can see Norbury Station coming up in the distance, so I'm going to make a brake step 1 application. And we're aiming for 30 miles an hour on entry into the platform there. Doing 35, so a bit on the faster side, but should be alright. Might need a bit of brake step 2 as we make our way along the platform. In fact, yeah, I'm going to get the brake step 2 application in there nice and early. Reducing it down to brake step 1 again, back up to brake step 2, up to brake step 3 again. Oh no, that's not good. And back down to brake step 1 for the stop. Okay. Full service, neutral, doors on the left. Right, I'm gonna have to stop. I'm getting a bit too confident now in my driving capabilities. I keep thinking that I've applied the brakes in the correct position, the correct location, I should say. Yeah, when I feel like I need to get brake step 2 in there, I'm just gonna get brake step 2 in there. I'm not gonna hesitate. Green signal, glance of the monitors, door close button. Door interlock lights have illuminated. A final glance of the signal and the monitors. F and R switch into forward, and power notch 1 with use of the hill start button. Power notch 2, glance at the monitors again. Power notch 3. And up to power notch 4. I'm a bit impatient this time, so I'm just going to go into power notch 4 at 20 miles an hour. Should be alright. If we did happen to encounter wheel slip, then the traction sand button would have lit up, prompting us to lay down traction sand onto the track to give the wheels a better chance at gripping. Speed limit is 60 miles an hour. Next station, Thornton Heath. Acknowledging an AWS audible indication regarding a warning board. That warning board is telling us that we have a speed reduction down to 40 miles an hour just before Thornton Heath Station. I'm going to apply the brakes around now, brake step 1 application there. You can see we're down to 40 miles an hour just in time, and I've increased the brakes to brake step 2 straight away because we entered the platform at 40 miles an hour, which is way too fast. Back down to brake step 1, up to brake step 2 again. Yeah, this is not how you want to be driving in wet conditions. Trust me, it can end very badly. But yeah, just bouncing between brake steps 1 and brake steps 2 there to help us achieve our nice and controlled stop. And there we go. Full service, neutral, doors on the left. And Thornheath Station in this direction is on an upward gradient, which is probably why we got away with entering the platform at 40 miles an hour there. If that was on a downward gradient, we probably would have flown right out the other side of the station. Also, the signal, the platform starter signal, is embedded in the wall. The developers, I don't know why they haven't sorted that out. That's been like that for years. Yeah, developers, if you're watching this, please fix that. But that is currently displaying a double yellow aspect because the last signal that we passed was green, but we got an audible AWS indication as we entered the station here. So I know that that signal is either a double yellow or a green, but because you can't see it, I have to assume that it's a double yellow. It's definitely not going to be a single yellow or a red. I mean, it could be, but if I was to pass it and it was red, it wouldn't be my fault. So yeah, I'm assuming it's double yellow or green. Anyway, glancing at the monitors, door close button. Door interlock lights have illuminated. A final glance of the monitors. F&R switch into forward, using the whole start button here because we're on an upward gradient. Power notch 1, up to power notch 2, glancing at the monitors a final time, and up to power notch 3. Speed limit is 40 miles an hour, departing from Thornheath, increasing to 60 miles an hour, and dropping back down to 40 miles an hour just before the next station, which is Selhurst, which is our final station on this particular journey. Oh, 45 miles an hour. That's wrong. It's 40 miles an hour. I'm fairly sure it's 40 miles an hour going into Selhurst, but we're soon gonna find out. Anyway, there's our single yellow signal there. I'm going to shut off the power from now, so we can anticipate a red signal at the end of Selhurst platform. So I'm going to aim to be traveling at no faster than 20 miles an hour on entry into the station there. You always want to be traveling at a reduced speed. Yeah, see, I was right, 40 miles an hour. I knew it. I'm not sure why the warning board said 45. Anyway, a bit too fast there. I literally just said I was going to aim to be doing 20 miles an hour entering the station, and I flew in there at 25 miles an hour. Anyway, using brake step 1, brake step 2, back down to brake step 1. And we have our red signal at the end of the platform here. I'm just looking for the stopping mark here. Where is it? I can't see it, but we're stopped in about the right place. So full service, neutral, setting the DRA because we have a red signal, and doors are on the left. Okay, so we're now going to move the F&R switch into the off position, remove the master key, turn off the windscreen wipers, return to free roam. Now the AI is taking over the train, everything's going horribly wrong. Do you know what? Just get out, do the outro, call it a day. Right, so that concludes this commentary run down from London Victoria to Selhurst. I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, something different, especially driving in the wet conditions. It was a bit of a shorter run as well. What on earth? Anyway, yeah, so once again, thank you guys for watching, taking the time out of your day to endure this. Any constructive criticism in the comment section is highly appreciated and welcome. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Love.